and just like meeting all these people, being in these rooms that I just dreamed about. This wasn't at the root, but like when I was with Shadow and Act, I got to interview Oprah. Like I got to interview Oprah at her house. Like that's
Mm.
insane. That's
At
insane.
the house?
At her house. I
At
met
the
Oprah at her crib.
at the
Like
crib.
crib
We at
child.
the crib with it. Wow.
Okay, I was like, and just like every other black child grew up watching Oprah with their parents, like her grandparents.
From Harold Washington to Harold's Chicken and everything in between and beyond, SoCHiology is the exploration of Chicago culture, history, legends, stories, and fiction through a myriad of discussions with Chicagoans themselves. Her name isn't Tonja, it's Tonja. Embrace the J is loud. Tonja Renée Stidhum. And on this episode of SoCHiology, she's going to tell us about how she took a leap of faith by moving from the south side of Chicago all the way to LA to pursue her dreams in the media, which took her through journalism, copywriting, and screenwriting. So in this episode, I hope you're inspired as a creative or as just anybody who wants to take a dream and a leap of faith to follow what you really desire in life and not settle for the mundane. Let's get right into it.
You got a lot of things that you are into, that you have done.
Mm-hmm.
We just gonna start in the beginning. This SoCHiology, we're gonna start in the beginning. You are from Chicago.
Okay.
Tell us where you
Mm-hmm.
grew up at, your background and all that here in the city. We could start there.
Okay, yeah. So I am. So it's twofold, right? Because I'm black, so I was raised by my grandmother because I was in a single, single
Yeah, you
mother
know how it
household.
go. You know
You
how
know
it
how I
go.
go. So I got to do both of them, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, South Side of Chicago all the way. I represent 66 in Kenwood, the Woodline area, and then I also represent the Wild Hunnits because my mama lived in Beverly Market Park area. So both of them is my home. That's my home. That's what I represent. So South Side all the way.
So I'm saying you went to Morgan Park.
I sure did. The Mighty Mighty Mustangs.
What
Yep.
year you came out of Morgan Park?
I graduated 2002. Oh two.
2002. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you
Hmm.
was you was out of high school when I was coming in.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I ain't trying to make you feel
I'm an
old.
OG.
Yeah, yeah, I ain't trying to make you feel old, but I was
Right?
like, damn, '02. I was
Yep.
eighth
Hmm.
grader. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, yeah. And Morgan Park, I know a lot of people. I'm not a CPS graduate or,
Mhm.
I never even attended CPS, but the fact that it's like so many of these CPS schools where like I just know so many people is ridiculous. Like I know so many
Yes.
Morgan Park alumni, went to college with them, met them, just through life. Know so many Simeon cats, know so many people, Kenwood, all that. It's just crazy.
Yes.
But yeah, you Morgan Park folks, man, y'all stick together. Like
Oh,
y'all,
we sure do. Yeah. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to my reunion. We had our, high school reunion. And I wasn't able to go, but like it was like they had like so much fun. So much fun. I was so jealous. I was getting all this FOMO. But
yeah,
yeah, I love it. I love how you start. That's how you know this is a Chicago podcast when you ask what high school you went to. Like so
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah. 'Cause
that's right.
it's such a big city. It's such a universe,
Exactly.
but it's small too at the same time. It's like a small world, small city. It's like
Yes.
somebody that went to Dunbar, and they're like, oh, my
Yep.
cousin went to Morgan Park, and
Right.
they probably stay on like 64th and Kenwood. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
it's such a
Yep.
small
My dad
world.
went to Dunbar. So like,
See,
that's funny. You
look
mentioned
at
that.
it.
Yeah.
See, look at that. See, that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
That's what I'm
Hmm.
saying. So it's just, yeah, it's such a small city, small world, man. So yeah, Wild Hunnits, we got Woodlawn in the building, so you went
Yes.
to Morgan Park, then what does your journey take you after you graduated high school?
So after high school, I went to NIU, Northern Illinois University in DeKalb,
Mm-hmm.
Huskies.
The Husky.
Yes. So I studied communications, media studies with the emphasis on film studies because I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be, a writer, a screenwriter. Like that's what I
Yeah.
wanted to be. I wanted to be in film. I always loved film. So I did that program there. And then, when I graduated that, I wanted to move out of my mama's house. So I'm like, okay, let me get a job. Because when I first graduated, I did like nonprofit theater at the Beverly Arts Center. It's still there actually on the like
Yeah.
111th. Yeah.
And Western, right?
So
111
yep, yep.
Western. Yeah.
On Western, yep, off Western. Yeah. So like I did like stage managing, director's assistant, producer's assistant, all that stuff in the theater, the nonprofit world. It was great. But the money wasn't enough for me to have my own apartment or nothing. So
Yeah.
like, once I left there, I ended up getting a job through my sister. She referred me to like a law firm job, like it was like administrative work or whatever. So
Okay.
I did that for like probably like 8 years. And then I was like, you know what? This is not fulfilling me creatively at all. So I quit that job and moved to LA in 2015. And I've
So
been here
yes.
7 years.
So let's park it there real quick.
Yeah.
So we jumped from 2006, 7. Is that when you came out of Northern?
Oh, the
2000,
North. Yep. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Okay. So we went from 2006 to 2015.
Yeah.
Within that gap, you said you dabbled in theater,
Yes.
because obviously your dream was to be a screenwriter.
Right.
So let's back up real quick right there,
Yeah.
parenthetically. At what point did you have the seed that you knew this is what you wanted to do? Like, where did that even come from,
Mm-hmm.
that desire? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
You
before
know
you
what?
answer,
Like,
let me
yeah.
just give you an example, like, because like we share the same interests and dreams.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which is another reason why I really want to join this podcast as well, not just because of Chicago, but because I grew up wanting to be a director, a
Mm-hmm.
filmmaker, writer, all of that myself. And
Yes.
I had dreams of being the first Black person to win Best Director at the Oscar and all. And,
Yes.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. I
Doing
had
your
all that.
speech in the mirror and shit. Like,
Yeah. You know what I'm saying. But, I had actually written a speech down. I probably
yeah.
got it somewhere. So
I know
like,
that's right.
so like that seed came from, and I'm just be real, the fact that I'm an only child,
Mm.
and all I had to do with my free time was watch movies. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
Mm-hmm.
watching movies, the same movies over and over. I'm like, man, what if you would have did it this way? And what if they would have did it this way? Like I'm switching up plots
Mm.
to,
Mm.
Boomerang. I'm switching up plots to Mo Money,
Yes.
which was filmed in Chicago, all that. So that's what my seed came from to
I
go into the
love
media
it.
industry. So obviously you're not an only child. So that's why I'm curious, where did your seed come from?
Now that's funny. That you say that because, like, yeah, I'm not an only child, but I can relate so much. You know why? Because my biggest sister is 14 years older than me.
Oh,
My older sister is 14 years older than me. So it's kind of like being an older child. She was only child. She was already a teenager when I was born. So
mm-hmm.
like that's why I got it from. Like I got my imagination from watching movies, from watching TV shows, all that, and like pretty much all of my fun came from watching that, or either like playing with my Barbie dolls, like and making, literally I was making movies with them. I was like, I didn't have Barbie dolls just to do their hair. I was like making storylines and
Yeah.
everything, but I didn't know what that was, right? I didn't have a term for it at the time. Like, oh, I'm writing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize till I grew up and had that perspective and that hindsight, like, oh shit, I was like directing films without the camera. We didn't have money for a home video camera, but like I was like
Yeah.
making it like in my head. Um, and I didn't realize that to then. So yeah, since I was a kid and like just seeing movies, I tell people that the movie for me that made me like, oh shit, I want to do this is actually E.T. Because that
Mm.
was like the first movie that made me cry. I cried at the end, like when he left, and it's
Man,
like
it
it makes
was
so much
emotional.
sense,
Yeah, it
right?
was.
Like it makes so much sense with like, especially with my issues, my family issues with abandonment, because my father
Mm.
died when I was a kid.
Mm.
So it's like it makes so much sense why that resonated with me so much. But like I was like, oh my God, I want to do this. But I didn't know that was a real job until high school, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, that's very that resonates a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The fact that, even subconsciously the things we go through, we find comfort in movies from it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So like you say, your abandonment issues is why you connected so much with a movie like E.T. You know,
Yeah.
some a being that was alone, in a
Right.
foreign world. So like, even though you're
Yeah.
not an alien, but
Right.
was living in a world where you felt alone because your father wasn't there probably, and your friends probably had dads, things like that.
Yep. All
So
that.
that's where the seed was planted, and then it began to grow and grow. So now you're working at this law firm, and I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
lawyer, but I know a lot of lawyers, and they all say that it'd be stressing them the hell out and frustrated and all of that. So I can only imagine how it was working at a law firm and how mundane that could have been for such a creative spirit like you. So that creative
Mm-hmm.
seed was like trying to burst through. And you just
Oh
said
yeah.
one day in 2015, you just leaving here, you going to LA. That's how that happened.
Legit that.
Mm.
Legit. Like my friend, may she rest in peace because she passed in 2019. But she had moved to LA like probably like a year prior. And she was inspiring me. And I was like, oh shit, she's going to LA. I want to go too. Literally just on this random Tuesday, not really random, it was divine order for real, but like it was a sale. It was an airline sale. And she was like, oh shit, Virgin Airlines having, and they don't even exist no more, but Virgin Airlines having a sale right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, I saw it. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna buy a one-way ticket. And I did.
So you
Yeah, I
bought
just had this feeling, like a gut feeling.
so you bought a one-way ticket to LA from Chicago, and then what? Like that's like we talk about taking a leap of faith. I took a leap of faith in my own journey,
My goodness.
but I don't know if I would have had the guts or the balls to do something like that. Like, so you bought a one-way ticket to LA and just you was
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah, exactly. And I picked a specific day. Like, so I mentioned that my dad died when I was 12 years old. He died. And so I picked his birthday to
Okay.
move. September 27th, 2015 is the day that I flew from Chicago to LA. And yeah, I was scared of shit. Like I tell people that all the time. Like bravery isn't the like the absence of fear. It's being scared of shit and doing it anyway. And so that was like the thing that I took with me. I'm like, I was so scared. I didn't have a job at the time, but all these things aligned once I made that move. Like I got a job like probably like maybe a month or maybe a few weeks before I landed. I got an apartment because I had a village in LA, like literally going like one of my friends, Stephanie, she went to see apartments for me and was like FaceTiming me or
Okay.
whatever, taking video and showing
Okay.
me the place and sending it to me. Like all these things aligned. I did a GoFundMe to raise money, all my community online, and you know the people that I knew, my friends, my family, all of them donated to this GoFundMe to help me move. Like all this stuff aligned because I made this choice, and then I was transparent about it. Like I told everybody about it, and actually, you know, asked for help and asked for help, resources, and community and stuff like that. It all came together.
That's beautiful, man. The fact that you
Yeah,
had
thanks.
that community to support you. So it's like this
Yeah,
was a strategic one-way flight. You know what I'm saying? So you were
yeah,
strategic. Yeah, you was very strategic with it.
yeah.
Before you bought this flight, you know, so you already had, and you know, the fact that you had a friend that's willing to FaceTime you, you know,
Right?
like most people ain't got friends that's willing to do that. That's a friend. That's a,
Exactly.
that's a
Like,
friend.
and like going to, and like, what's funny is like my first apartment in LA is in Koreatown. If you know about Koreatown in LA, it's hard to park. Like, street parking is crazy. It's like
Mm,
ridiculous. It's very, very crowded. And then they do a lot of street cleaning, so people get ticketed and towed and all that stuff, right? So like, you know, street parking is like a no man's land. It's like, okay, you got to get it where you can, right? Like how in Chicago when it's snowing, it's like you better get your damn parking
yeah,
space. So
yeah,
it's like that in Koreatown, right? Just in general because it's so little parking spaces. So like that fact that she had to like do all that and like to go and find this place and she lived like out like probably like an hour or so away from Koreatown and she's driving all the way to do it. I'm like forever grateful for her.
yeah,
Forever.
yeah. That's a friend. That's friendship for real.
Yeah.
That's friendship for real. So, you know, you get to LA now, you got your apartment, you know, what's the first step now in pursuing this media career? Like, you know, I know your background, but I'm just getting you to walk us through for the listeners and
Yeah.
viewers, you know, of like the mindset of, you know, it gotta be scary. You know, you're in a new city,
It
you know
is.
what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
it gotta
exactly.
be scary, but you're in a city where they say you have to be for this industry though.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
how do you cut through that oversaturated market? You know, what was the first step?
That's a great question. Because yeah, it was scary because like I had a few friends here, but I had no family here. You know, I'm like what 2,000 plus miles away from Chicago, where my family is. Most of my family is. So yeah, it was really scary. So what I did, so the job that I got, it was another law firm job.
Hmm.
And so I got that, you know, just to get stable on my feet. You know, LA rent is not cheap whatsoever. And so like that was like a pretty stable job. And then I was there for 1 year until I got that itch again. I was like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna be stuck here. Because I felt that at the previous law firm in Chicago, I was like, I'm gonna be stuck here. Like it's a stable job and you know, a lot of people would be grateful for it, but I'm like, this is not what I want to do. So I'm gonna feel stuck. I felt like I was in prison. Like it was like I felt like I couldn't get out. So it was like I got that itch again, and I ended up taking another leap of faith. I call it a fling of faith. Like I actually flung myself out of it because yeah, my move to LA was a leap, and like I had gotten my first major byline, and I got it in Ebony magazine. I wrote about Viola Davis.
Okay.
It was like an op-ed. And after that, I was like, it gave me, you know, I had a feeling, right? A gut feeling. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna quit this job. I gave my notice to them and I started freelancing for full time and leaped right into the world of journalism and
Mm,
digital journalism like that.
mm, mm. Man, you know, so it's just, you know, you're taking a lot of leaps right now, you know. You
Yeah.
jumped off the cliff, then you landed, and then you jumped off the stairwell, you know.
Okay.
you know, but that's so the first byline you had was Viola Davis, which is huge,
Yeah.
it's huge. Brand name, Viola
Yes.
Davis, so do you think that's what kind of like got you some traction, in the freelance
Oh
world
yeah.
and you was able to get more gigs from there?
Absolutely. I think that's when I started to be taken seriously, like in that world, right? Because I was always a writer, I was always a blogger, like so I was in the digital space. And shout out to the community on Very Smart Brothers. Like that was like my first like blogging space where I was able to like publish my stuff. And then that relationship with those two founders led to me working at the Root. And of course, that's like where my entertainment journalism career really blew up. But yeah,
Mhm.
the Ebony magazine thing and getting those bylines and doing freelance work for a year was like me pretty much getting all my clips. And clips are like basically like writing, sampled articles. Are, and that's what really get me, going in this field and being taken seriously as a professional, journalist, a professional digital writer. And it was like it wasn't easy. Like that fling of faith, I really fell on my face a lot too. Like I
Mm.
always want to be transparent about that, about like the falls too, right? Because like it was the most hard thing in my life financially. Like I was the worst financially that I ever was when I was freelancing full time because it's a lot of challenges, right? It's like you doing your work and you hustling, but you may not get paid on time, unfortunately. Like a lot of publications are really bad about that, about paying you on time. And
That's
so you waiting for
crazy.
you waiting for your money, but the thing already published and they getting their money from it. Like they getting, the advertising dollars and all that shit from it. But you're chasing them, trying to get
That's
your
crazy.
paycheck.
It's
And
like
so
nothing changes. It's like nothing
nothing,
changes. Like you deal with,
child.
you deal with clients on a person to person level, the very
Yes.
micro budget level. But then you
Yes.
start working for big brands, and it's like you still dealing with the same thing.
Still same shit. And they're like, they come with that mentality like, oh yeah, you should be lucky to be right for us. I'm like, no, this is a job. Like I'm grateful that I have this major byline, but I did work and I should be paid for it. It's an even exchange. It's like a simple exchange. Right.
Wow.
And so like that like pissed me off. And I learned the hard way how that worked because your bills ain't waiting for it,
At
like
all.
they surely are there.
At
And
all.
so that was a lot. And my credit score suffered for it, like all that. Like I'm still recovering from that. And I'm like really, financially stable at this point. Like, but I'm still recovering from that downfall that I had
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the freelance world.
And how long was you freelancing for?
Just 1 year full
Just
time.
1 year.
That's when,
Okay.
yeah. Then I got the job at the Root. That's when I got
Okay,
my
okay,
first
yeah,
full
yeah.
time job
That's
in writing.
that's
Yeah.
crazy though. Like that's crazy
Oh
that
my
nothing
god.
really changes. Like, and people will on the outside looking in will think, "Oh man, you set. You got,
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
in
That's why I want to
reality,
be transparent about it. I'm like, it's not just all roses, right? And a lot of people come to LA with rose-colored glasses. It's like, oh shit, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, blah blah
yeah,
blah. But it's a struggle. It's ups and downs. It's a roller coaster, and all of it is for a reason. All of it, build your character and all that shit. But I'm like, I want to be honest about it, right? It's
yeah,
like it's not just about the highs; it's about the lows too, especially in social media, because social media can be like a highlight reel, right? Everybody
mhm,
winning and they just posting all the shit that they're winning.
mhm,
But we're human, everything. It's not all wins.
yeah,
It's like it's the losses too. That's part of your story too. I don't like discredit that as part
yeah,
of my story.
yeah, man. I'm glad you persevered through that year.
Yeah,
Um,
thank
so
you.
so then you got to working at the Root. Tell us. So I got a twofold question, real quick. Tell us
Mm-hmm.
how it was working at the Root, but then I
Mm-hmm.
want to transition into other challenges as a journalist, a
Mm-hmm.
black journalist,
Oh
not
yeah.
just in LA, but
Yeah.
in the entertainment industry. Period.
Oh
Tell
yeah.
us some more of the struggles about being a digital black journalist in this day and age, outside of the financial aspect that we just touched on. But first,
Mm-hmm.
tell us about your work experience at the Root, though.
Yeah. So like that was my first full-time job as a writer, right? So it was a big deal for me. And then it was in an industry that I loved. Like I got to be an entertainment writer. Like I got to work in the beat that was my industry, right? This is what I loved. Because like before when I was doing freelancing, I was doing like, general news stories and stuff like that. But this I was
Different
able
stuff.
to be, yeah, exactly. I was able to be like in my bag, basically.
Mhm.
So yeah, that, oh my god, the journey with the Root was like it shaped me as a writer in the most like challenging but also fruitful way ever, right? Like I got probably the most opportunities I've ever gotten because I wrote at the Root, because I was able to, because the Root is known for editorializing as well, right? They report news, they report the facts, but you can sprinkle your personality into it too, like while you're reporting news. It's not like a strict like Washington Post or like Huffington Post kind of like legacy publication. It's like, it's more editorializing. So it's like the Root is known for their writers, right? The writers have specific personalities. And so I was able to convey my personality as well. And then like I just met so many people. Like my network grew like 500%. Like whether it's celebrities, whether it's their publicists, whether it's studios, whether it's all like my network had grown like so much, like working at the Root and just like meeting all these people, being in these rooms that I just dreamed about. This wasn't at the Root, but like when I was with Shadow and Act, I got to interview Oprah. Like I got to interview Oprah at her house. Like that's insane. That's insane.
At the house?
At her house. I met Oprah at her crib.
At the
like,
crib.
Crib,
we at the crib with it.
Okay, wow. I was like, and just like every other Black child grew up watching Oprah with their parents, like her grandparents. Like, so it was insane. And of course, the first person I told was my mama, right?
Of course, gotta tell mom back
right. You gotta tell mom
that I'm interviewing one of the biggest things out of Chicago right now in her house.
Right, exactly. So like, and she still to this day be showing that picture around the cashiers in the grocery store because Black mama.
Hey, she gonna have that picture forever. She gonna have that picture
forever. So like interviewing people like her statue and all these celebrities that I look up to and were fans of, and being like in close proximity to them, and them knowing me, knowing who I am, knowing my name, and remembering me on the red carpet and blah blah blah. All that was just like, just priceless. I wouldn't, I don't regret any of it. Even if there were obviously challenges of it, because the journalism space is very exhausting. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It is. It's like long days. When I was working at the Root, the Root is based in New York. So I was in LA and I had to work on New York time. So I was up at 4:30 in the morning, like working. Like at least I got to get off early, but that didn't even last because since I was an entertainment journalist and I live in LA, I had to cover events. So like not only am I like working my shift in the morning, I gotta then take a quick nap to, re-energize and then go to an event later that night. Like it may be fun events. Like right? It may be like fun events and like socializing with, cool people, but it's work. It's still work. Like like they say, like what James Baldwin would say, like I don't dream job, I don't dream of labor. Like
right.
It's still a job, it's still work. Like even though you're like enjoying your work and it's your dream, it's still work. So
still work. And so like we can transition to the second part of my question is like the other challenges of being a not just a journalist but a Black journalist. And
the tea.
And we could probably go right, and we could probably go deeper, and you can even touch on the fact that you're a Black woman journalist.
Oh yeah.
Outside of the financial woes that you talked about, outside of the exhausting aspect of it being physical, what are some other woes of being a Black journalist in the entertainment industry?
Number one, I got to talk about the gatekeeping in the industry against Black publications, like specifically, right? So like getting the opportunities that I did get, I had to fight for them, unfortunately, right? Like opportunities that will come easily to like a People magazine or E! Entertainment, Access Hollywood, and shit like that, mainstream white publications, things that come easy to them, we had to fight for. And so I'll give you an example on the red carpet. And this has gotten like viral in the last few years. Thank goodness that people are talking about it. But on the red carpet, what they would do was put us all the way at the end of the red carpet, all the Black publications. So that could be your Essences, your Ebony's, the Root, the Griot, all of them were put at the end of the carpet. And that's like terrible real estate, right? Terrible. Because by the time the celebrities are all the way at the end of the carpet, they got to go in. And especially if it's a live show. Like if it's a live show, they have to go inside. Like it's no like, oh, I'm just staying a little while later. Like no, their publicists are pulling them to go sit down, right? So they could be at the event. And then not only that, it's like having to deal with the fact that this even happens even with your own, right? So you're talking to Black talent, but they may possibly have white publicists, and they don't get the importance of a Black publication and us telling our own stories, and they don't care, right? Because I'm like, and I was one of the people who was a proponent and outspoken about this. I'm like, y'all, the black talent, it's y'all responsibility. You can't just be like, oh, it's just my publicist saying it. It's like, no, you're the boss. Like they work for you. Like you're their client. Like even though they may boss you around and tell you where to go and stuff, that's their job. But at the end of the day, you can fire them, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, and not only that, you're the face. You're the face. You're the person that everybody knows. So you saying this and you like speaking out about black publications and protecting them and giving them opportunities make is a huge deal. And there was a video that went viral when Halle Berry did that. Like her publicist was like pulling her away, like okay, like they just like treated whoever the publication was like as if they weren't like important. And Halle Berry's like, no, 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 I'm going to talk to them, and that's all they have to do. You know, they could just tell them no, like I'm gonna talk to them. It's only like 2 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like that's really important. So like navigating that gatekeeping, um, and you know, speaking with publicists, speaking with studios and networks about that. I've had so many talks about it with them, like internally, about how important it is for us to have more opportunities, you know, and not be thought as like the afterthought, right? Of that, because especially with our people, and that's what I was dealing with the root, obviously, because we mainly cover Black people,
Right.
right? And so like I was dealing with that, and it hurt even more because it was with my own people.
Mhm.
But they weren't the ones, you know, telling me, you know, or telling or directing these things. It was like white people telling me because they hired them. They hired white publicists. They hire white fashion designers. They hire all these things. They think it's better when it's not. That's why I respect teams that have Black publicists, like a Issa Rae. She has a Black publicist. And I have had a relationship with this publicist for the longest time when Issa Rae was just coming up. Like I
Mhm.
had a relationship with her, and she's been her publicist since she's blew up. She didn't fire her for a more renowned publicist. This Black publicist has her own PR firm, and she's Black. And now she got Issa Rae. She got fucking Marseille Martin. Like
Mhm.
she whole roster of A-list clients.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That you know from her own firm, and it's her firm, and
She
that's what I love to see.
won, man. Yeah, it's just crazy. It's just crazy that, no matter how much things change, things stay the same. We always in the
They
back,
do,
no matter what. We always gonna be put in the back. We always
yeah.
getting the short end of the stick. We always gotta fight for this and fight for that. You can't tell me that that's a coincidence. It's intentional that they put
It
all the
is.
black owned publications at the end of the red carpet. That's intentional. Like that's literally
It is.
intentional. They put the big ones here, they put the independents here, and then they put
Yep.
the blacks here. Is
Yep. All the time. And it didn't matter like which one, right? Like it's not even that they can like argue that like, oh, your numbers. Oh, no, no, no. The Root was the number one motherfucking Black site ever. We weren't competing with other Black sites. We were competing with those mainstream sites as far as the numbers, as far as like the traffic that we got on our site. Like, and so like either like an Essence or Ebony, just it's the same thing. It's like they're like major legacy publications that all these Black talent grew up reading, was on their coffee table at their mama's house, at their parents'
Ebony.
house.
Ebony started by a Chicagoan,
Thank you.
been
Come on.
around for decades, and you still putting them at the back of the bus.
Still putting them at the back. And like the talent has to be the one to be like, no, they are important. Like they're a legacy brand. Like they are the reason why a lot of Black talent had even a platform, even had cover stories. Like when those mainstream publications, those white publications wouldn't even give them a chance. It was Ebony and Essence that were putting them on cover stories.
Mhm.
Like, so it's like, don't like then get to another level of status and get to that A-list club and forget. Like you can't forget, because it's like those publications were writing about you when nobody knew what your name was in like in mainstream media.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you advocated and put emphasis on the fact that the celebrities can change it though. Like, the
Yeah,
celebrities, they can't necessarily change where they put them on the carpet, but they can change the exposure and the time and the attention
absolutely.
that's given. So I love the fact that you hinted on that. But yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's that's deep. That's wild. In
it
2000,
is. And like another thing that, yeah, exactly. And like one more thing that I always fought for was getting exclusives, right? Like so like it's obviously a major thing for your publication to get an exclusive, especially in the entertainment industry. And when you think of exclusives, obviously you think of the major trades like a Deadline, a Hollywood Reporter, or Variety. And so like I would fight for trying to get an exclusive at the Root. Like why can't the Root get something that's like breaking news, right? And so that started to happen within like the past couple of years, like publications such as The Root and Shadow and Neck started getting exclusives about like news that centered Black, talent or Black projects.
Mm-hmm.
And so like for an example, I got my biggest exclusive working with a Black publicist who got us as exclusive to announce a project that Oprah and Lionsgate was promoting for Nicole Hannah Jones, like her 1617 project that she did with the New York Times. Like they secured a deal with Lionsgate, and now that she has a TV deal with Lionsgate, and I broke that news on The Root. Like that was a huge deal because that would usually be I did it before the trades, and that's like a huge deal. And so then they have to like cite us, for like, oh, according to The Root, this happened. According to Shadow and Neck,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
happened.
yeah.
That's huge for a publication, and is notable but respected in the industry as a reputable publication because we be in these streets like too, just like them. I be next to, a variety or journalist, whatever or what have you, and I know them. I know their names. I'm like next to them on red carpets. I network with them all the time. So I'm at these same events that they are covering stuff. So I think it's like very important again for us to have that platform because we're worth it, absolutely worth it, and we're extra worth it because we can tell it from a Black perspective. Like we understand them,
Exactly.
like these mainstream publications don't.
They don't, and they don't care.
They don't care,
and they don't care. Yeah, man. So yeah, it sounds like a lot of grit that goes into a lot of
yeah,
this. Like, I know
it
it
does.
sounds like you're giving us the simplified, summarized version of it, but you was in the
But
trenches dealing
I
with this
was,
daily,
I
so
was,
I can only imagine how taxing that was on your mental, your
it was,
emotions,
it was, it
I can
absolutely was.
yeah.
And then you're like, and then when you're doing this and you're being outspoken about our rights and like our worth, it's hard because you're fear of getting blacklisted, right? This industry, sorry to say, is about blacklisting, and they still do it to this day. And so you speak out against the wrong person, there's a chance that you can get blacklisted in the industry, and that's scary for a journalist who's also trying to work in the very industry that they're covering,
Yeah.
right? And so, like, I've seen it happen. It has happened to a lot of people. A lot of publicists or network publicists will try to bully the journalists into not like covering a negative review of things. I've had those conversations with various of them. I'm not going to name names, but it
Mhm.
happens in major studios, and you have to have these like really tough conversations. Like it's ridiculous. I'm like, okay, you got to allow Black publications to be able to critique, films and TV as well, right? We can't just be all glowing reviews because that's condescending to me. That's like patronizing.
Yeah.
It's like Black people can still like have successful projects without you babying them. You can still the critique comes from love. Like if it's a Black critic, 9 times out of 10 it comes from a place of love, and we want things to be better. We want our people to improve. And so like all these white critics who are like infamously like trash, like a Roger Ebert. He's a fucking legend, but he was notoriously mean to all of the movies that he did not like. He would not fucking mince words, but he's
Yeah.
still considered a legend. You ain't gonna see him blacklisted from no damn movie,
Facts,
like
facts.
no
Robert
no
Eason was
movie.
going in. He was going in. Like I
Going
would read some of his.
in,
I would read some of his stuff. I'm like, damn. Like,
right?
what is
Exactly. You
going
take it
on
personally,
here?
like goddamn.
Yeah,
And
he was.
it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
still like the A-list talent was still going his damn show though because he was like the top fucking critic. Like he was the most well-known critic in the US. Like it's like, you know, so it's like they don't do that to them. But to us, we have to be like all like kissing ass and stuff, and
Mhm.
it's not cool.
So, how long was you at the Root?
So from 2018 to 2021. So about
Yeah,
what, three years?
At what point did you go to Netflix after that?
Yes.
Okay.
So like when I left the Root, I got a full-time job at Tonal, the digital gym system, as a script writer. And so like that was the first full-time job that I got to write scripts, for a full time. But then also in the interim, while I was kind of transitioning out of the Root because I was trying to leave the Root because it was a lot of reasons. It was like because of change of management and
Mhm.
also, pay as well. Like I wasn't able to get the promotion that I believe I deserved. And so I was in contact with Netflix because at the Root I would do this series for their Strong Black Lead arm, which is like their Black content right? Like every Black project or TV show that comes out on Netflix, they have this editorial arm called Strong Black Lead. It's basically their marketing department for their Black projects. And so I had been in contact with at the time he was like the head or the executive of the Strong Black Lead, the marketing department. He had loved my content, like what I was writing about the root, because we had this series again where we talked about like, oh, this thing is coming out this month. Here are all the black shit coming out in November, 2021 or whatever. Um, he loved it because again, I sprinkled my personality into it. I sprinkled my humor into it. My headlines were fire, like all those things. And so I kept the contact with him. And so like as I was trying to leave the root, I was like, hey, I DM'd him. I was like, I'm actually trying to transition out of the root. Can you let me know if if Netflix has any, opportunities that I can, Netflix editorial has any opportunities, because I know they were building their editorial site, basically, like their own internal site to write about their own projects. So he was like, yeah, he gave me a referral. And then I like had a little back and forth with that team, and they pretty much like put me on ice for a little bit because they were still like launching it. And so they was like, we'll reach out to you when it's time or whatever. And then they reached out to me for like a contract position for like about 3 months, writing editorial content for their site, like for their site to Doom, which is their like editorial site for like the projects that they produce. So like I wrote for Ada Twist Scientist, which was really fun because I love kids content. That's like one of my origins because I was a Disney kid. And so I love like animated content. So yeah, I got to write, I got bylines on Netflix website.
That's great. That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
So because I noticed your resume, let me just say to the people listening and watching, your resume is long. You have a very long resume, and I'm just trying to pick my points of where I want to touch.
Yeah.
If I touch on all of them, we ain't gonna be able to, fit it all into this episode. So but that's pretty dope though, that you had that stint with Netflix, and then you say you was a script writer for Tonal. So that means you was writing like the stuff that's said during the workouts.
Yes. So I literally wrote, the scripts for like what they said. Like, so basically their formula or was like that they had an intro and outro, right? So they had an intro, what they say, they introduce themselves, they tell you what the workout is going to entail, and then the outro, which wraps it up or whatever. But then they also talk throughout the workout. So what the script writers did is we spoke with the coaches and we got to know the coaches and we learned their voice. So it's kind of like learning the character's voice. Like I treated them like characters, right? They're real people, but I treated them like characters because I had to write in different voices because all of them are different. So like we would sit down and speak with the coaches and learn about them, what motivates them, what they love to get out of teaching a workout and coaching other people in workouts. And so basically what we did as script writers was we decided on a theme of that workout. So it was a theme connected to, the workout, but it could be an overarching thing, like a inspirational theme or a theme about, a personal thing that they did in their past. Like one of the coaches that I worked with was a former Super Bowl champion. Like he worked with the Baltimore Ravens. Like, so we talked about his, pretty much locker room talk, like his workout, how he worked out and working as a football player, into the workout at Tonal. So like that was really fun because like it was like a world that surprised me, right? First of all, I didn't know the fitness world had script writers, like the digital fitness world. I didn't know that was a thing. What's funny is I always tell my friends, like when I saw the job on LinkedIn, because that's how I saw it and I applied for it. I thought they said title. I was like, okay, I work for Jay-Z. But then like once I realized, I was like, oh, it says Tonal.
Like, hold on, this is
then I had to like
like,
research
hold on. Like you show up the job, like I was not expecting this. Like where am I?
Right. So I like looked into it and researched it when the recruiter reached out to me, and I was like, oh shit, this is a different thing. And like they actually film and the writers are on set, like filming, which I love because I love to be on set. It's like my happy place. So we're like on set and like working with the it's kind of like being a TV writer, like because the TV writer gets to be on set. So like we work with them, and then also it was so unprecedented because we had a writer's room. Like we actually like approached this like a TV show. Like we had a writer's room, we all pitched stuff. We all had different, projects or whatever, but we pitched just like a TV writer's room. It was great.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
That's why you thought it was titled. So yeah, it sounds like. So I run a lot, and on the Nike app, I listen to these guided runs at
Mm-hmm.
times. So that's what it sounds like that you're describing.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm sure that I'm not sure. I know that the stuff that they're saying on these guided runs are scripted. So they have to have someone that's writing those. So it seems like you were the one writing the workouts for Tona. Like, okay, now I know you feel tired, but you just have to push through. Yeah.
Exactly. Like all that stuff is like, it's scripted. Like even Peloton, right? Like I don't think they have writers. Well, I think now they contract writers. But before, when Peloton was like really popped off and became viral, they had producers who's actually scripting their workouts. Like I learned that as well. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And then learning that, and because I think like the Nike app and like Apple, Apple Plus, I think, or the sports, their Apple's Fitness, I think it is. Yeah. Like when unfortunately when I got laid off at Tonal, I was like applying for jobs like in the fitness space. Those jobs was coming up for me, and I was like, oh, okay, all these other like their competitors also have like writers as well.
Yeah, man, that's dope. So so you said unfortunately you were laid off at Tonal.
Yeah.
You was
tech space. Oh Lord.
Yeah. So where did you move on to after that?
Yeah, so now I'm a senior copywriter at XX Artists, and they're an agency, like a social media marketing agency, and they write pretty much the copy for their clients' social media. Like so they're for their Twitters, their Instagrams, their TikToks, like all those things. I literally write the tweets. I literally write the copy, the captions for the client. So our biggest client is Google and YouTube, and so I work with them a lot. And what's funny, a full circle moment, one of our clients is Tidal.
Wow.
So like we're building out their social presence now. So it's like a full circle moment from them. Yeah, it was still connected to them. Yeah. So them, NBC Universal is one of our clients. So we're going to be working on the People's Choice Awards, or we have already been working with them with their nominations, tweets, and stuff like that. I'm going to be going to the People's Choice Awards, representing XX Artists, which is pretty cool. So my worlds are going to collide again. Because like they chose me to go because I have that experience, like working award shows and stuff like that. So it's like it lined up. Yeah. So I'm like, that's going to be an interesting thing to like see it from the client side, like because I was on the press side before, but now I'm going to be with the actual client who's producing the actual show. So that's going to be interesting to see that perspective. That's a perspective I haven't experienced yet.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Is this like the same as social media management, or is it you're literally just writing the content?
Right. So they're actually two separate jobs. Okay. So like, the copywriters actually just write the content. Okay. But XX Artists as an agency, they also do have social media managers who actually manage the actual account. Okay. Right. So we write it internally. We send it to the client. They either approve it or give us notes to come back and edit it and revise it. But it goes to an actual social media manager to actually own the account. Yeah.
So, because like I just want to say this real quick, because a lot of these big brands, social medias be wilding. Like they be they be saying some wild stuff, man. Like especially like these fast food restaurants, they be saying some wild stuff, man. So I be wondering, like, is this a Black person writing in? Like, who is doing this? Like,
sometimes it is. You know what's funny? To go back to my journalism career, you remember when Popeyes was like popping off because of the chicken sandwich, and then like their social media account was like amazing. Like it was like a master fucking class in like social media management. So as a journalist at the time, I was like, I want to see who's running this account. Like, I want to see who's running it. And then that's what's so funny. Again, another full circle moment that now I'm doing that same thing. But I interviewed basically the agency who Popeyes hired to do their tweets. So like now I work at an agency who does tweets and, social copy for a company or companies. So like I interviewed, and it was like a Black girl and like some other people of color who were doing those tweets, and it was like an agency in Austin, Texas, and like they had hired them to do their tweets. Because like I was thinking like, oh, like most of these companies have internal social teams, and some of them do, but most of them like they actually do outsource it. Yeah. And even if they do have like social teams, sometimes their work is just so broad and so big in scale, they still outsource it and contract agencies to do.
Man, it was wild. And then I also know when McDonald's had made the decision to do breakfast all day, like all those years ago, IHOP was sending shots at them. I'm like, what is going on? Like,
that's exactly it. So we come up with that stuff all the time. Like we come up with a way that like two companies can collaborate that makes sense. Like we totally do all that stuff. We all like pitch stuff, like and ideate all
Oh,
those
so these
things
be
because it's fun.
collaborations.
Like sometimes it is like an actual like collaboration between companies like that are like they may be doing something together. But
Mm.
yeah, sometimes it's also just a random like just adding them and see if they respond. Yeah. So
They just
it's
be. I'm
50/50.
like, what is going on? But I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you who backfired. And let me just say, this is my podcast,
Oh yeah.
Liz Taylor, SoCHiology. These are my
Mhm.
thoughts. These are not the thoughts of Miss Stidhum or the company that she works with. But
I
Wingstop, y'all
can't.
failed, bro. Wingstop failed. Like they
They did.
they failed. Like I was reading these tweets about
Oh.
like I forgot what they said. They sent
Mhm.
shade at somebody. I
Right.
think it was Popeyes or somebody, but they sent some
Yep.
shade. And then
Yep.
everybody was in the comments lighting them up. Like, I know y'all ain't talking. They posting like
The
under the,
ratio.
oh my God, it was bad.
And then you know what? And that's funny that you mentioned that because that's important to our work, right? Because a good thing about knowing what makes a good tweet is also knowing what makes a bad tweet. So
Yeah.
we study all that. Like when we see that shit is going bad, we look at that and we talk about it. We have meetings about it. We talk about strategy because that's a whole nother job. Social strategy is a whole different job, right? That's like an overarching thing. So it's like I'm really learning about like how like detailed it is, right? It's like it's not just like putting up a tweet. It's like it's literally months and months of planning of these tweets, especially if it's something big, if they're launching something big, if they're
Mm.
promoting something. These tweets and these the strategy of it and like the planning of it was done months in advance, if not a year in
So it ain't
advance.
like no, oh, we gonna do this next week. Like, no, they
No, no,
yeah.
especially for something like big, but like even just random tweets like for the month, like for YouTube and Google, we write tweets a month in advance and then they do it for like the following month. And
Mm.
especially for the holidays, we have to do it 2 months in advance because
Mm.
we shut down at the end of the year. Like we close
Got it.
the last 2 weeks of the year. So
Got it. Got it. Okay. Okay. So yeah, man, that's interesting though. That's interesting to know because I always wondered that. I'm like, who is behind these damn tweets? Um,
yeah, it's cool to see the inside of it because like I used to wonder too. I was so fascinated. I'm extremely online, just like you. Like so, I'm like I was like so fascinated how it like breaks down. And I knew people. I knew social media managers, as well. So I kind of had like an insight, but to actually be in it and to be
yeah.
like working in it is different. I was like, wow, this is a lot. I respect it. I respect it more now.
So you you was freelancing for a year.
Hmm.
You're knee deep in journalism. Now you're doing copywriting.
Hmm.
But we talked about that seed in the beginning, which was screenwriting.
Yes.
Although you are in the world of
Hmm.
writing and entertainment industry, you know the goal was screenwriting, right?
Yes.
Um, Tell us about your aspirations with that. Still, I know
Yeah,
you got your own independent projects, the Wing Chick. Am I
I
correct?
do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Tell us about the Wing Chick. Tell us what that's about. Tell us about what other projects you have going on. Tell us about,
Hmm.
is that dream still there, or are you just
Hmm.
like comfortable with the pivot, diving
Hmm.
deeper into the copy and the journalism side?
Mm-mm. No, it's still there. It's definitely still there. And so like Hollywood is very hurry up and wait kind of thing, right? It's like you're waiting for a long time and for things to pop off, right? And like you're always in this perpetual mode of like, oh, I'm so close yet so far, right? So for me, since I've been living here, I've been here 7 years now in LA, and I've had the opportunity to pitch TV shows to places or to I pitched a TV show that I'm still trying to market, but with my a writing partner of mine that I met while I was at the law firm in Chicago. We're trying to make a TV show
Okay.
about our experience there. So we pitched that actually to Larry Wilmore's production company. At the time, he had a deal, like a first look deal with ABC. And
Okay.
so we pitched it with them and they liked it. They really liked it, but the timing, it was all about timing. And it didn't go forward. And they passed on it. So we've been trying to pitch that other places. With Wing Chick, yeah, I raised again, crowdfunded for that, which is great. Again, shout out to my community and my village. And I was able to produce 2 episodes for that. And then I did a few film festivals. I did the Southside Chicago Film Festival, which was like
Dope.
the best feeling ever. I got to go back home and like screen my shit, which was amazing. So,
Mhm.
my people. And so I did that. And then like I was trying to like raise more money or pitch it around to get a distribution and to get a producer. And I got like some looks like from some networks, like a CBS had an interest in it, and but again, it just like kind of fizzled out. But right now, I'm kind of still in talks about a producer and a distributor right now. With I can't say who it is yet, but it's like
Yeah, absolutely.
it's a well-known person in the industry, in the comedy industry. And so we've been having talks in it because they think it's funny. So again, it's just a wait. It's a waiting game. It's like, okay, you think you're so close. I'm like, oh, it's about to happen and my dream's about to be realized. And then sometimes it just kind of goes in the holding period. It's like a holding pattern when you're on a plane. Like
Yeah,
it's just like
yeah,
circling, circling,
yeah.
circling till you land. And so that, and then another thing, because my love for screenwriting first became with movie, or first started with movies. So I've written like so many like feature films, just like specs, right? I'm just writing for myself. But then I ended up getting hired or contracted to write, again, I can't say who it is, but a hip hop script. It's like a feature film script biopic for someone in hip hop. And that has taken like forever, like to get finished. But like once it does pop off, that would be something that would like change my life, pretty much, because it's a
Absolutely.
well-renowned person
Yeah,
in hip hop.
yeah.
And so like, yeah, so it's those things. It's kind of like I'm working on things, but it's like things that I can't announce yet.
Hmm.
And that's kind of like the perpetual journey of it, right? It's like, because again, just as I said at the top of the show, it's like the social media aspect of it, and everybody's like posting their highlight reels, and you
Yeah,
kind of get your feelings like, oh, I can't wait till my time. I can't wait till my turn, but you can't. And then it's like people don't know what you're working on or what you're doing unless you're posting on social media. Like, okay, I'm doing this thing. I'm doing this thing. And it's a funny spot to be in because I realized, especially when I started working at the Root, that I was that person for other people. Like they will look at my shit and be like,
mm,
"Oh my God, I wish I was doing that," or I
mm,
wish, or I was
mm.
inspiring people to do
Yeah,
that. So it's like you have that perspective because you're in this constant loop of like, once you like reach your certain goals or reach goals that you never even thought you had, your goals just get bigger, right? It's like a constant thing. It's like, okay, once I reach this thing, now I want to do this, because my ultimate goal is I want to create my own show. I want to be an executive producer of my own show, a comedy series, and I want to make movies. I want to do that, like all that. And so like that's what I'm working towards. I'm still working towards it, and yeah, I haven't stopped. It has not fizzled out yet. Obviously we creators, we have those up and downs of like,
yeah.
okay, like,
It's a
oh,
roller coaster.
depressed, and
It's
I can't, I can't create right now, and I feel bad. But
yeah.
yeah, it's still there. It's still in the core of me.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
So like my last three questions are all synced and tied together.
Okay.
So I'm gonna start off this trifecta of questions with this. If you were to teach, I don't want to say writing because that's vague, but if you were to teach a journalism slash screenwriting class,
Mm.
how would you go about it? Like, what would be some of the lessons you would put in your syllabus based off your experiences?
That's funny that you asked that because actually, we just announced it today, but me and a former colleague of mine, Chanel, we're doing like a Twitter Spaces like workshop or
Oh,
webinar for freelancers, like for
oh,
people who
okay.
want to be freelancers.
Oh,
And so
wow. Okay.
we're doing it on Twitter Spaces. It's actually I don't know when this is coming out, but it's like this week, later this week.
So
Um,
today's date is this will be out on November 22nd.
Okay, so it had already happened by then, but at least it will be recorded,
Mm-hmm.
so it will still exist, right, for people to
Yes.
access. So like yeah, so like we're doing like a panel pretty much of giving lessons of how to be a freelancer effectively,
Okay.
right? And teaching these lessons that is very important for freelancers to have, especially Black freelancers. And we're both Black women, and we want to pay it forward. We want to pay these seats forward because it's hard to navigate that industry when you don't know people, right? And that's how Hollywood is too, right? You got to know the right people. And there's even a lot of gatekeeping within our Black community as well. It's like, okay, once one person gets it, then they just want to keep it to themselves because they think you're competition.
It's
I'm like,
terrible.
no, that's not it. We all go eat. Like we all go eat. You're like, it's kind of like the candle metaphor. It's like you light another candle with another candle. It doesn't burn out the other candle. It just takes some light from it,
Fire
and then
begets
both of them
fire.
have light. Exactly. So it's kind of like that. So I'm just trying to pay it forward because like a lot of people go into freelance and they don't have mentors. Then like how I did, I didn't have like I didn't know anybody. Like when I just know like a few people like from the blogging community again, but like I didn't know how to pitch. I didn't know what my rates were supposed to be. Well, how much I was
Yeah.
worth. I was very green. So like being transparent about that stuff, so another Black person won't be exploited. Right? Like when you learn, when you suffer or you go through issues, you're not supposed to go forward right. Well, I had to suffer, so they should too. They should pull themselves
Yeah,
above
I
their
hate that
bootstraps.
mentality. I hate
Oh,
that.
I hate it so much. I hate it so much. I would never be that person. Like it's like because I had to suffer. Well, you got to learn it the hard way too. It's like no, you have the ability, the power to let them skip that step. What is that going to take away from you? Like it's the insecurity for me. I'm like you're
Yeah,
insecure about yourself and
yeah.
you're projecting that onto the next person that you think is going to like go over you, even if they do like pass you. So what? Like if you help them, like that speaks to you, right? It's like I get something from that, from like helping my fellow person, because like what's for me is for me, and that's it.
I've been
Like again, like
learning.
all of us get those feelings about like, oh, like I wish I had, like a lot of us, especially again with social media, we have that envy, like, oh, I wish I had that, I wish I had that. But my mom always told me like you can't just take that good part of what their life, you have to take all of it, and you don't know what all of that is. Right? So it's like you can't envy someone else's life. What's for you is for you. So yeah, I would do that. I would like teach her like a class, like a how to be an entertainment journalist, and like all the nuts and bolts and like how to navigate it. Especially like it's so many different things I can teach now because of how the industry has changed in the pandemic era, like the COVID era. Because before we were doing junkets and press junkets in person, and now it's kind of a virtual thing or a hybrid. People are still going in person now, but especially when the COVID first happened, it went to like our own Zoom. We did junkets on Zoom.
Yeah,
So yeah, it definitely changed. Yeah, it was like there's a lot of things that changed, a lot of elements about it that changed.
turned the world upside down, man, for
It
real.
did.
Um, so what would you say to that little girl back at home on the south side of Chicago growing up, making movies with her Barbie dolls and things like that? If you can have a quick 30-second, 1 minute conversation with her to encourage her, inspire her, what have you, what would you say to her?
Wow. Yeah, I would tell her that her imagination is so worthy, right? Like it's like the weird shit that she thought she was weird because she had these thoughts and these these things, like because she felt so lonely, and she used imagination to be her friend basically, that it will pay off, right? And all these dreams that she had, even dreams that she never dreamed before, would happen for her. And because I think about her a lot when I navigate this world and I have these goals and stuff, I'm like, man, little girl Tonja would be like, oh my God, you did this, or you met this person that you were a fan of, or you got to write about this thing. And so it's like so cool. So I would tell her that to keep being creative, and let your imagination be limitless, because it's going to help for sure.
And I think it'll also motivate her if you was to tell her you're gonna interview Oprah in her house. Denzel,
Right.
Denzel is gonna compliment your
Denzel,
smile.
right, go tell me my smile, right?
Like when I saw that clip, I'm like, oh yeah, she winning. She winning. You know how many women in this world would pay to be in your spot? You know, you know what I'm saying? Like,
So I'm like, I was just like any other heterosexual girl. Like I love me some damn Denzel. Like he was it. Like man. Like
uh,
so again, that's another thing my mama, because of course my mama also loved Denzel. She's like, Denzel. It's like literally that. And like a lot of people, yeah, when that happened, they were like, how the fuck you hold your composure? I'm like, listen, y'all, I was dying inside. Like I learned how to have a poker face, like
yeah,
in this
got to.
like by that time I had interviewed so many people. But inside I was like, oh my God, this is really happening. Oh my God, this is really happening.
Be like, you
And
know
I
what?
had that
At my funeral, play this on a loop.
okay,
You know what
put
I'm
it
saying?
on loop.
Over and over. That's all
I
people
know
need.
that's
That's my eulogy right there. That's
right. Exactly, because
yeah,
like as a little girl, I'm like always in my head anyway. Because again, I have this like huge imagination, and I'm always like, again, entertaining myself. But that's how I am. Period. Like I'm like all like my major thoughts are always like in my head.
yeah.
So and I might not even show it like here. So that's funny.
Um, So what's your tell me your favorite movie, your favorite television show, and yeah, that's all I got right now. Tell me your favorite movie and your favorite
Okay.
television show.
Yeah, so I mentioned E.T. That's probably one of them, but like I have to also say The Lion King, the original one, I would
Of
say.
course,
The
of course.
Lion King. Like I tell people that I could do a one woman show of that movie. Like I wore that VHS out. I mean, like when when you wear a VHS out and it don't work no more because the damn tape coming
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
Like
yeah. It's
the
over.
that's what I
Uh,
did to The Lion King. And
uh,
so like that is my movie. Oh my God. I love it. And I got to see the Broadway version too, and I cried. I
mhm.
sobbed.
Oh,
I actually saw it in Chicago at the Cadillac Theater.
okay.
Yeah, so when it toured, yeah. So I got to see that like as an adult, which is cool because I'm like I always wanted to see that play. And I got to see it as an adult with my mom and my niece, and that was beautiful. Okay, favorite TV show. Um this changes like all the time. But I'm gonna go with my first gut. A Different World is my
Hmm.
favorite TV show of all time. I love it, and I watch it like over and over. It's like one of my comfort shows that I
Mm-hmm.
watch over and over. Um, but yeah, it's always going to be like a comedy show. That's my roots. It's like that's what my grandma had me watching, like all the like Norman Lear show, like the Jeffersons, Good
Oh,
Times,
yeah.
all those like all in the Family, Three's Company, like all that shit. Like she had me watching all that shit. So that's where my comedy roots come from. Is that the
Mhm.
master class, Carol Burnett, like all that. I'm like,
Yeah, all
yes,
of that. All of
like
that. Yeah.
chef's kiss.
Yeah, my grandma, it was interesting. My grandma had me watching the opposite. So I was watching Gunsmoke,
Oh, she
Hawaii
watched that too. That's funny.
5-0, Walker Texas Ranger, you know.
She was watching that too. That's funny. It's like that's when I would like tune out. Like so she when she was watching that shit, I was like, oh my God. But like
Man,
when it was a comedy, that's when I would pay attention. But
uh-huh.
like the Gunsmokes, Matlocks, Walker Texas
Oh,
Ranger, she
Matlock,
loved that
yes.
shit.
Oh my God. Yeah, man.
Fucking
Like,
Andy Griffith show, like all that shit. I'm
man,
like,
that's
oh my
all her
God.
TV stayed on. I'm like, God dang, like, can we watch something? But it was nothing else to watch. It was literally nothing else
It
to
was
watch.
only like 5 channels.
Only 5 times I couldn't plug my PlayStation up because she swore up and down that it messed her TV up. I'm like, it don't mess nothing up. What you talking about? My
Right.
grandma,
And
man.
my grandma was so old school, like obviously cable existed when I was a kid, but she still didn't get cable. So I couldn't even watch like the Nickelodeons and shit unless I was like, at a friend's house or something. But she
Oh yeah,
had just basic ass
yeah,
antenna television.
yeah, yeah.
So it
It
was only
wasn't
a
none
few
of that
channels.
one. It was
Right.
just,
Oh,
it was just,
right. Damn. I can't even see Rugrats and shit
it
unless
was
I
just
like go
two,
to somebody else's house.
5, 7, 9,
Chat, right.
32,
WGN, right.
WGN, Channel 26, Channel 50. That was it. That's all it
50.
was.
Yes,
That's,
you can.
that's all it was, man. My grandma, man, make she rest in peace. Rest her soul. And
Yes,
I noticed
man.
you said your father's birthday was September 27th. That
Yes.
was her birthday too.
Get out of here.
Yeah, her birthday was September 27th. Yep.
Oh my God, we
Hmm.
kindred.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah, yeah,
insane. Wow,
yeah. That was
that's
that was
that gave me goosebumps. I'm like,
yeah,
wow,
yeah, yeah. That was her birthday. I peeped it when you said. I'm like, wait, September 27th. Yeah, that's her birthday. Yep.
amazing.
Libra
Yeah,
gang.
may she rest in peace.
Yeah,
Wow.
may she rest in peace, man. So yeah, Tonja, tell us where we can find you on social media. All your
Yeah,
projects, all of that good stuff. Tell the listeners and viewers where they can find you at and all of that.
absolutely. Yeah, so you can find me like on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all those things at Tonja Stidhum. So it's my first name Tonja and Stidham Stidhum. Or you can find my work at my website is tonjareneestidhum.com. That's my full name. So yeah, like hit me up, follow me.
Yeah. And how many times do people mispronounce your name? I know
Oh
it has to
God.
happen a lot.
Oh God. Obviously get Tanya a lot. That's
Mhm.
why I had
Your
named
name,
my
your,
yeah, Embrace
the
the
J in
J.
your name is loud. I saw that in your
Yeah,
bio.
it's so loud. It's so
Yeah,
loud. It's not silent.
yeah.
And like some of it is like cultural, right? Where the J is like pronounced like silently. So I'm like, I
Mhm.
give some grace to that. But I'm like, the J is right there. The J is right there. So like I had put my Twitter name as Embrace the J for a long time because it was like a running joke. I was like, use the J, embrace the J.
Right, it's
And so
there.
that was my thing until I decided to have my at name be, consistent with my actual name. And so yeah, Tanya, I've gotten Sonia, I've gotten Tonya. Like it's like it's Sonia. That's a whole nother name.
Yeah, it's not even an S in there. Like people just
It's
lazy.
not.
Like,
I'm like my name, especially in emails. I'm like my name is in the to section. It's in the signature. I put it there at the end. I'm like, how do you not see this?
I can understand Tanya because a lot of people spell Tanya that way, but
right,
Tanya,
exactly,
come on, bro.
exactly.
Like, come
Sonia.
on, you're wild.
It's a mess.
You're wild.
Oh, it's a and my last name, obviously, it's hard to pronounce. Like you pronounced it correctly. But like a lot of
people,
take
names
like,
serious.
Stidhum.
I take names serious. Like your name is your name. So like I take it serious, on how to pronounce names correctly, and I pay attention. When people say things, like even if they're not talking to me or addressing me on social media, I pay attention to that. So I take things like that serious. I
appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. Because I'm like, I grew up like people mispronounce my name, so I know the feeling. Like, okay, I want to get your name right.
Yeah. What do you miss most about Chicago food? Because I know LA food.
Oh, we really get to the nitty-gritty now.
Yeah.
The pizza. Like as I tell people, it's not the deep dish pizza. I'm talking about the square slices, like fucking Italian Fiesta, fucking beggars, like all those like square slices. Like that's what I miss because LA don't get it. Like LA does not got it. And then like for the longest time, it was Harold's, but Harold's came out here. Like so people from Chicago brought a Harold. Yes, it's literally a block away from me too. I'm like, look at God.
I did not know that.
Tastes is good because Chicago people
and them LA folks messing with it.
Sure do. That shit is crowded all the time. Because actually, when it first got built, it was on Hollywood Boulevard, which is like very like crazy, busy, right, for tourists. So like it's too high because it's on the tourist spot. But anyway, it was so crowded, and one of the problems when it first opened, it was like it would take like a long time to get your order and shit until they get into their groove.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, after that, I was like, oh, I go there. I might get some tonight.
Oh, wow.
Just to commemorate our interview.
Right. I did not know. I knew it was one in Vegas.
Yes.
But I did not know it was in LA. Wow.
Atlanta, I think it was one there too.
Yeah, I heard about that. I heard that one was kind of like.
It's not. Yeah, I heard it's not. I haven't tried it, but like I heard it's not it. But this one, they did that. I was like, okay.
Okay, wow.
And my heroes is the 87th. If you want to know.
Good. Well, it's not that no more. Like the little one is by that Shell gas station, but the big one is
right. I know. That was heartbreaking to see when I did go back home. I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah, so they got it about to pay. They was trying to like up his rent or something. They was just trying to squeeze him, So I don't really.
Oh, okay.
They was trying to raise his rent and talk about we need to get a percentage of your profits. Like we are not partners. No, I'm not giving you.
No, yeah.
And if you're wondering, after this episode, she really did go to Harold's after we finished recording. You could take the woman out of Chicago, but you can't take the Chicago out of the woman. Make sure you follow Tonja on Instagram and Twitter. Her handles are in the description of this episode to follow up with her journey and what she got cooking up next. If you enjoyed this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on right now, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, etc., leave a 5-star review and a comment. Let us know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe to our sister podcast, Mogul Motivation, from True Stories Media.